Hello and welcome to another episode of Breaking the Guard. On today's episode, I'm going to talk about the unstoppable champions because right now, with John Jones vacating the belt, Tom Aspinall becoming the champ, and the results from UFC 317, we've had some major shifts. And I'm kind of excited about this new direction as far as no more double champs. It seems like the UFC's put a stop to that. And we have some really dominant champs. And again, I'm going to spoil UFC 317 for you because Ilia Topuria just ran over Charles Oliveira with a 2-3-2 that floored him. And then you have Pantoja, who just steamrolled right through Kaya France, got him with a rear naked choke in round one as well. These are two champs that have won at least their past 5, 6, 7, 8 fights. But if I go through the divisions, Islam's challenging up now from Maddalena, right? I think, well, he's the current lightweight champ. He's obviously been unstoppable. You have Merab, another guy that's been unstoppable. Jack Maddalena, in his UFC tenure, I don't think he's lost in the UFC. So he's been unstoppable. Dricus, I believe, has won all of his fights that I can see in the UFC. He might have lost one of the earlier ones. Magomed Ankalaev hasn't lost in the UFC. Tom Aspinall has lost once to Blades, but he beat him by KO, avenged him. So other than that, although he's still a little bit needs to be tested more. The rest of these, Valentina Shevchenko, she's a hard one to beat. Zhang Weili, another one hard one to beat. Kayla Harrison it still needs to be proven a little bit more, but I think the early results are going to show she's going to be hard to beat. So we finally now have a roster of UFC champions that seem to be in the right weight class and are very dominant. Islam is the only guy I think now that's challenging for a double belt, and I'm not sure that means he's going to vacate that lightweight belt to try to take Maddalena's belt, or the UFC is going to allow him to do that. I'm not sure, because then if that happens, then they do leave a space. Everything I just said goes to crap. But nevertheless, it is interesting now. We got some really solidified champions in all these divisions. And again, going to UFC 317, just the amount of dominance that the champs had was crazy. The fact that Ilia was able to take out Charles the way he did is shocking, because he didn't just knock him out, he was out, laid out flat, and it was really the first punch that finished him. I think it was a right hook, but that one just put him out, and then he got clipped with the left hand and another right hand on top of that, and some hammer fists for extra credit. But he was stone cold out. A very impressive win for him. And anybody saying, oh, he doesn't have the power, I think he has power to spare, because that was really solid striking. And then when Pantoja with Kaya France was able to get onto the ground very quickly, was able to get to the back pretty quickly, and then didn't take him too much time to be able to finish the choke, showing his grappling dominance in that division as well. So two guys that are pretty hard to take out. Like right now for Ilia, they're matching him with Paddy Pimbleton, which is, I guess he has the celebrity factor, but I don't think he's got what it takes to take out Ilia. I would be really surprised if Paddy was able to do anything against Ilia. Ilia's legit good. Patty, I don't know. He's gotten some good wins. He's definitely better, but I don't think he's there. I don't think he's there. He's got some size in him for sure. 'Cause Patty was training at I saw him at Extreme the other day. I mean, he's definitely walking around in the 190s. Um, but I don't know if all that size is going to make that much of a difference. I think the skills are just different. Charles did have one good takedown attempt, and Ilya was able to hip switch and reverse the takedown just before he was about to fall. He obviously has very good counter wrestling, so it's not like he can just take him down when you want to. It's like that's a big problem as well. With Pantoja, right now there's no one left for him. I don't know who he's going to fight in that division. He's beaten. They're putting him now with Joshua Van, which he's good. He just beat Roy Ball in a very close gunfight, like just back and forth. But Pantoja beat Roy Ball pretty easily. I don't think Van is going to be able to, one, stay on his feet that long. I mean, the thing is we don't know because Roy Ball, in my opinion, fought dumb. He never went for a takedown. He just stood on his feet and exchanged with Van, who's primarily a striker. It seemed like a bad game plan. I think it was a bad game plan. I think he should have at least threatened the takedown to get Van to lower his stance a bit and maybe not be as effective on his feet. But he got into like a slugfest with this guy, and he did damage too. It's not like he wasn't. It was a competitive fight. It was probably 2 rounds to 1, maybe. You can argue, but Pantoja is not going to be an idiot and try to like outstrike a striker. He will strike enough to be able to get it to the ground, and I think he can finish on the ground. So I could be wrong. I don't think Van is the guy either. So like and if I'm understanding this right, I think those two challengers are not going to really put much of a challenge for those champs. With with Islam rather, and Maddalena, that's an interesting fight. Again, we have 2 champions facing each other there. I'm not sure how that's going to play out, how the size is going to be a factor. Islam is claiming now that he can't gain weight. Like he's only gained 2 kilos since he's been trying to fight up in weight. So I'm not sure what he's doing. Usually for me, putting on weight's very easy. He might be overtraining or under eating. But yeah, it's just different body types, I suppose. So I'm not sure how the size is going to be a factor. Yeah, I know he's already a big lightweight, but if he's going to be stepping into a welterweight, the welterweights also cut a lot too. So who knows how that is going to play into effect. But the other champions, I'm not sure how challenged they're going to be. That's why I feel like we're stepping into an era now where we're going to have potentially like 7 or 8 Anderson Silva streaks where we just got guys who there's no one else for them to challenge. Which, well, on one hand, it's kind of cool to see when you have a guy who's just so great at the top of his game and he's able to like put artistic performances like Anderson did for many years. But it could also be terrible if everyone sees there is actually no one that can step up and challenge, and then there's no anticipation for these fights because it's like, well, we know it's a foregone conclusion, right? It's pretty much like watching any Jake Paul fight, which I've never done, but he's going to win because he's set up to win. So why would you bother watching it? I don't know if we're that extreme yet, but I could see it happening. Like for Merab, I'm going to see it hard for anyone to beat Merab right now. Ilya, like I said, seems pretty hard for anyone to beat Ilya. Pantoja, same thing. With the women's, I can see it happening because both of those women have lost the belts before when they regained it, and so I think that division is a little more competitive. But in this particular streak of champions, they have long undefeated streaks. So, and they've already fought their way up the ranks. They didn't just get jumped into the top. So they earned their place. So they've already beat people in the top 10 to get into the title shot and to win the title. So, that's interesting to me. I think it'll be fun to see these next couple UFCs once these newer champs are starting to defend their belts. Although, like I said, if my predictions hold true, Pantoja is going to hold on to that belt. Ilya is going to hold on to that belt. And I know now Kayla Harrison is going to be defending against Amanda Nunes. I don't think she's losing that belt either. Amanda's been out of the game for a while. She, didn't leave on top either from... Oh, did she? I'm not sure. I think she lost the last one she was in. But it's hard to come back into this game and do a GSP, right? Where you retire and then you just jump in for a title and win. That's if Amanda could do that, that's pretty legit, right? She was a heavy hitter and a very good striker. But Kayla has shown that she's got the Ronda Rousey effect right now, where she's just able to out-grapple everybody and force her game. Anyhow, that's my takes on the UFC there, and at least the current champion position. I hope they still enforce the no double champ thing, because, like I said, if Islam is forced to vacate to fight for the welterweight belt, then they're going to need to crown a new lightweight champion. And I think maybe that will dissuade people from jumping up and down. So there's that. Then there was a lot of grappling events going on this weekend. The one that I was actually been watching is the AIGA, where I think it was 8 teams that were competing against each other, and they did like a tournament. It's actually still going on in the background here, but the event's essentially over because all the teams have won. I'm going to spoil that as well, so if you don't want to hear the spoilers for this AIGA World Series, tune out. But at the end of the day, Team Kasai ended up taking it all. And not in the way I thought it would go down. You had Team Williams, which was basically Team New Wave, and they looked like they were stacked very heavy. Team Kasai was also pretty well stacked. You had the Ultimate Fighters team, which is the Dagestani Russian team that's wrestler heavy. There was Team Eurotrash, Team Avellan. I can't recall the other 2 teams. In any case, Williams, the first day, there was a lot of dominant victories. Like the Williams team won very clearly, Avellan won clearly. Ultimate Fighters, I think they were going against another wrestling Russian type team, and they won. And the Eurotrash, I think, got beat. I forgot by which team. But the semifinals day, it was an interesting day because Team Kasai battled it out with Avellan, and it was a very close one. I think it was 4-3, and it was decided on the final match, if I remember correctly. So it was a very tight one, and that was one of the harder... Oh, I think I got it wrong. I think Avellan fought Williams, yes, and Williams just barely overcame them. So it was a big deal that they won. Then Ultimate Fighters team fought Avellan, and that one was also close because these guys were able to make a lot of these wrestling matches. And the format for AIGA is a little weird in that you can score takedowns the whole round, but you can't score anything else until the first 2 minutes pass. 3 5-minute rounds, best 2 out of 3 rounds wins. I'm not a fan of these round formats. I think they suck. I'd rather have one straight fight. There's a lot of situations in these rounds where like one guy has a submission and then the round ends. And then it's like round one, like, well, if you would have had just a long 10-minute round, this match would have been over and we wouldn't have to be using referees and decisions and all that. My take. In any case, though, the finals, which was Team Kasai versus Team Williams, I thought was going to be a closely contested battle. But it was very anticlimactic. Team Kasai just clean sweeped the first 4 matches, 4 wins straight, which sealed the deal. And then something interesting happened, which is Kainan Duarte was supposed to fight Big Dan for the 5th match, but since they had already won, Kainan didn't want to compete. He's like, why am I going to compete? It doesn't matter anymore, which is a good point. But apparently the promoters forced him to compete, or they say he was going to get paid. And they probably were better not competing because it was a boring match. Big Dan and Kainan just kind of stood around wrestling each other, not really wrestling. And then I think Big Dan, for some reason, pulled guard at the last minute and got penalized and lost because of that. I'm not sure why he did it. He tends to make these bad strategic decisions that cost him matches. But the other matches that were surprised, there was a lot of like big time matchups. Like you had Giancarlo with Roberto Jimenez, which was a great fight, good back and forth scrambles, although Roberto seemed to get the better of these scrambles. Roberto got the back a couple times and was able to win on points. So very good performance by Roberto. He needs to be in that ADCC next time around to compete in that division because, again, Giancarlo is a 2-time champ. And obviously he has what it takes to be able to beat him. Now, the rule sets make everything. And Giancarlo is notoriously a slow starter. So I'm not sure if the round format favors him versus doing a one long round where he kind of builds into it. But they had a lot of stars on this one, and honestly, it's like 50 or something matches, so I'm not going to be able to recite them out. But, you had PJ Barch in there, you had Diego Pato in there, you had good performances by Dominic Mejia. So a lot of good matches. So it's free on YouTube, so you guys can check it out, and they have all the streams on there, and you can just fast forward pretty easily. But some good action there, but I don't know. This is one of the drawbacks of this team format to me, which is this situation where you have one team that wins 4 matches straight. No one else really wants to compete. The winners don't want to compete because they already got the win, and it's from a career standpoint, I get it. Like, you don't have anything to gain. You have a lot to lose because what if you get hurt in that match? Now you got hurt for nothing, really. Especially if you're someone like Kainan, who already has a name as a defending champion, fighting a challenger when there's no incentive to do it, it's not great. But in any case, I'm not a fan. Like I said, there's a lot of these team formats, and they're doing rounds. I don't like the rounds. I don't like the teams, not because I don't like teams. I actually would prefer it was real teams. A lot of these have mixed athletes from all sorts of countries, so it's not really a team as it is like a Final Fantasy team, right? Like, I get to pick, people from all sorts of different teams and make it like quote unquote my team. To me, the appeal of a team is seeing which style of coaching and strategy is best. But you can only get that if everyone's training in-house on the same roof, right? And there's no reason why they couldn't have done this. Team Williams was almost a Team New Wave or Kingsway, but they had some of their guys actually in Team Kasai. I think Oliveira was in there. Oliveira's, right? The little small wrestler kid. He was in there, and I think one of the other guys was in another team. So it's like, seems like we could have just made one squad Team New Wave. You could have made one squad, Atos and had Kainan and Mourinho and all those guys in there. Or I think Mourinho's Gracie Baja, but whatever. I mean, there's enough teams that you can make pure teams. Because then there's like, to me, anybody who's part of that affiliation is going to be tuning in, and some of those, like Gracie Baja is a huge affiliation, Alto's huge affiliation. They could have gotten like Zenith or something like that, these big affiliations, and now you have all their, affiliate schools and whatnot wanting to watch this show. So that's one thing, and then the other thing is now there's actual stakes, because even it's not just about the money; it's about repping your team. I know back in the day, Kip Kohler did a Naga Pro-Am tournament where it was 4 teams. It was American Top Team, Team Lloyd Irvin, our team, Freestyle Fighting Academy, and Henzo Gracie. So it was like a dual meet tournament. So we went 2 matches. I think we were teamed up. We were faced off against Henzo Gracie. It was all Henzo guys. We beat Team Henzo Gracie, and then on the other side, Lloyd Irvin and American Top Team won, and then we faced the American Top Team in the finals. And I can tell you those matches were, at least as the competitor, they were heated. There was high stakes, especially since American Top Team was another Florida team, and it was like a rival of ours at the time. So we were, everybody was pretty riled up. They ended up winning the dual meet, but it was a lot of fun, and at least as a competitor, I felt very invested in all the matches because these are all my guys. But if you were to team me up with 3 random dudes that maybe I've competed with or I've seen around the tournament circuit, I wouldn't really care as much, because it's like we never trained together. We just flew into this country in the Middle East, and now we're gonna Mediterranean, I guess, and compete as a team. So CJI is kind of doing the same thing. They're going by countries, which I guess is better, but then they're also getting, like Hugo Duarte is in the Australian team. It's like, how does that make sense? Or to me, it's dumb. It's like, just make it purely a team. I don't like this Final Fantasy bullshit. Like, I don't even know how Final Fantasy, fantasy football style picking, where you just pick, whoever you want to be in your team. Like, no, let's get real team. Like, because you had DeAndre Corbet in one of the teams, I think he was in Leon, right? It's like, get all the eco guys on one team, right? All the guys from Greg Souders. Let him prove his worth, right? I've criticized it, but like, DeAndre is legit. He did very well here. Like, there could be something to it. Let him put his squad together. Get the Atos guys, get the 10th Planet guys. Like, there's so many great teams that have heavy rosters. There's no reason we have to final, fantasy league this thing. Just make it real. I think that would be a lot better. It will also be a lot more telling on like what styles that we need to be working on, right? Is the new wave style the best, or is it just for Gordon, right? Is, the Atos, way, like Kainan being double gold, is he the best? Or is it just, it's just him? The rest of the team sucks. It's not true, but I'm just saying, like, let's figure that out, because not only does that help those schools, because obviously if they win these things, people might want to be training with them, but it's a signal for the whole competition circuit, like, hey, obviously these guys that won this thing, their team had a solid performance that beat everybody. They obviously have winning strategies, and we need to start trying to emulate them or integrate them into our game. And that's only going to, or we have to learn how to defeat those strategies so that we can negate them. Either way, it's going to advance. It's going to be a bigger signal to advance all the collective world of martial arts. But if it's just random scattering of people, it's harder to read that signal. You have to be a little more clever because you have to be looking very deeply at each individual matchup and understand like who's coming from where. I don't know. That's my take on it. Anyhow, that's all I have for you guys, and I'll see you all next week.